everyone, my name's Jozie Perry and I'm a 2021-2022 Mellon Research Fellow. So over the past 2 semesters I've been studying the genre of pulp fiction alongside my mentor Amanda Yanovich. And these pulp fiction magazines were these little 10-cent magazines that were printed on really low quality paper, so they were meant to just be bought, read, and thrown away. And they talked a lot about, it was mostly like hard-boiled crime, action, thriller, a little bit of sci-fi. So we have pulp fiction to thank for a lot of modern day genres like science fiction, and really crime novels all came from pulp fiction. Even comic books were inspired by pulp fiction. So I'm studying those magazines, but more specifically I went into the female side of it and how women contributed to the field and how those contributions were huge for opening a conversation about misogyny. So before my research, I really didn't know what pulp fiction was. I had heard of the film Pulp Fiction, but I learned that that has nothing to do with the magazines. So I finally was brought to discover pulp fiction on my research journey, and I came across this newspaper snippet called Stranger Than Truth, which kind of just highlighted the gender divide in literature at the time, and also mentioned how lesbians had influence over the genre as well. So I really began at this point to dive deeper into that female side of the research, because this was the 1930s. Women were still housewives, they weren't really in the workforce, and being a homosexual was still seen as an illness. So these magazines were really the first thing to open up and talk about these taboo topics. But why? And then also, if they were so important in opening these conversations, why does nobody know about them? Why are they not a huge part of history? So let's see, with all the information I gathered, I put it into a magazine. So through that magazine, I will really just shed light on the historically ignored female perspective of the world, and tell the stories of these female authors and their triumphs with kind of ignoring the expectations of society and bringing up new topics and talking about things people wouldn't normally talk about, and really how these women earned their place in literature. And then on the other side of things, the readers, the women who read these books, how did the content really change the game for them? So the best part of this research journey overall was that I learned and I began to recognize the importance of this piece of history. And I think I've also gained a passion for wanting to share this information with everybody else. So I'm really excited for you to read my magazine. And kind of to sum it up, a quote from one of my favorite sources that I used in my research. They said, "In a world where the voices of women continue to be ignored, we hope that readers will rejoice in discovering these echoes from the past 2 centuries with messages that are as critical today as when penned." So enjoy the magazine, and I hope you guys learn as much as I did.